You're ready to write your dissertation, but where do you start? You're going to find out right now. Hey everybody, I'm Leigh from teachingacademia.com, and I'm all about giving you the tools you need to navigate academia and make your best impact. So today we're talking about what order should you write your dissertation in. Now, if you've been following along in this series, you know that we first started off with a video about the components of a traditional dissertation. And that video really gives you the big picture overview. But now you're stuck, right? You've got 5 chapters. Where do you start? And if you're anything like me, the blank page scares you. I hate a blank page. I fill it with stuff and I can work with it, but that blank page makes it so gosh darn hard, okay? So where do you start? I highly recommend that you start with chapter 3, which is your methods chapter. Why do I recommend that? So first of all, actually, I'm going to recommend that you write this whole thing out of order, just like you would write a research article. Very similar structure. I've talked about that before, and what I'm going to recommend for your dissertation is going to follow a very similar format. So I recommend you start with your methods because methods is very factual, right? You know when your study started and ended. You know how you picked people. You know what your data sources are. You know how you collected them, right? You know how you analyzed it. So it's probably the most black and white that you can get, right? In terms of writing a dissertation. So start with that. And if you need to, do a few rounds, edit it, clean it up, make it look halfway decent, okay? What that does is it gets you started. It gets that momentum going, right? So previously I talked about how you need to think about taking about 500 hours to write your dissertation. You need to be really consistent so that you keep momentum going. If you start with chapter 3, that's things that you already know. It's probably going to be your easiest chapter, and it's going to get that ball rolling, okay? And you're going to start to feel good about yourself. You're going to start to get words on the page, and then chapter 3 will then bleed into chapter 4, which is the next chapter that I recommend that you write. So chapter 4 is your findings chapter. Go ahead and write that. You might find that when you're writing it up, that you need to go back and do some more analysis, okay? That's normal. It's probably not going to be anything major, but as you're writing up your findings, you might have a question pop up and you realize you can't answer it unless you do some more data analysis. So you might have a little bit of back and forth there, but that's okay. Write your findings. Once you've written your findings, then write chapter 5, right? Write that end first, okay? Go ahead and highlight what you think are the big issues, right? What you think future research is. Now, I'm a big fan of writing chapters 3, 4, 5, and then doing chapter 2, and then doing chapter 1. It might be that it makes more sense for you to do chapters 3, your methods, then your findings, and then do chapter 2, which is your theoretical framework and your literature review. It might be that that makes sense to go 3, 4, 2, and then back down to 5, okay? So play with that a little bit because once you've got your methods written and your findings written, especially once you have your findings written, and make sure your findings are written pretty well, okay, before you move on, then you know those big issues that you need to talk about. They need to be highlighted in chapters 2 and 5, okay? So no matter what order you do there, if you do chapter 5 and then 2 or 2 and then 5, make sure you've done chapter 4 first, okay? And of course, always talk to your advisor and get your advisor's input on this as well. Then once you've got chapters 2 through 5 done, then you go back and you do the beginning, because now we always do the beginning last around here. And the reason that we do that is because now we know, because we can see everything else has been written, we know what we really need to highlight and prioritize for chapter 1, okay? Now, you might be entering into your dissertation having already written several chapters of your dissertation, and you might have done that as part of your dissertation proposal. That doesn't mean that those chapters are done, right? Like you might have written chapters 1, 2, and 3 before you went out to collect your data, and you might think, oh, all I need to do is write chapters 4 and 5. You most likely have to make revisions to your methods, your findings. Who knows what they are? They may or may not be in line with the things that you highlighted in chapters 1 and 2. So you might come into this with some work already done, but don't think that it's done, okay? So I would start with chapter 3. If you've already written a version of chapter 3 for your dissertation proposal, and everybody has to some extent, You're going to want to go back through, edit that, clean it up. You might need to expand some things out. Then chapter 4, and then, like I said, chapters 2 and 5, play with what order makes sense for you, and then go back and do chapter 1, okay? Either writing it from scratch or heavily revising it based on how the rest of your dissertation looks. And that's it. That's what I recommend. So if you like this video and you want more, click right here, and I will see you over in the next one.